All right. What a beautiful day to do some Murdle puzzles. But before I do any of that, I need just a little bit of a moment to, at the very extent, to let some other people watch my stream. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Myrtle Mystery puzzle book. When we last left off, thanks for the likes. I'm still at elementary, and I managed to complete only 7. Oh, I managed to finish um, the 7th case, and now we're moving on to case number 8, which is the butler did it, died. And it's snowing today, so I figure what better way than to solve puzzles or a mystery while it's snowing out. Okay, so let me see. Immediately after the last one, there was another murderer in Dane Obsidian's house. That made her look even guiltier. Uh-oh. So Dame Obsidian is a suspect again. Logical thought, especially since it was her butler who was murdered. What kind of person kills somebody else's butler? That I do not know. But I am going to use this clip so that the pages won't fly off, even though it will not help. But we have Sir Ruline and Miss Saffron. So, for Sir Ruline, this person is a sophisticated gentleman, which is a male, who was just recently knighted, if you believe the shoddy paperwork he carries with him. So in any cases, let me grab my pencil and pen. He's 5'8", right-handed, blue eyes and red hair. So here are the locations. We got the spooky attic, we got the master bedroom, and of course we got the grounds. If we go here, we have the weapons, which you can barely see. Not because it's dark, even though it's snowing out and cloudy, but it's because I can't get the angle shot of how you can be able to see it. So we have a magnifying glass, an antique clock, and an axe. So those are the weapons. So remember, in Murdle, each suspect has one weapon and one location they're in. But only one of them is the murderer for today's stream. So we're going to start with something we know. Blood was splattered on a family heirloom. So I think we need to pay attention to either an item or somewhere of a location. I wish I knew what it was. If I could think of an heirloom, I would say an antique clock, but I'm not specifically sure about it. So we're going to start off with the clues, and we're going to try to see if that is the case. I disable comments for this stream because I don't want people to like badmouth me of playing something that is not a video game. Even though I am about video games, but I'd rather take a little bit of a breather from that, if you know what I mean. And also, in any cases, if I decided to use the decoder on the website, I would. So in the first clue, it's either Miss Saffron brought the axe or the axe was in the master bedroom. So in other words, it cannot be both. Sir Rulin had been hiding from the person who brought the axe. So this means he's hiding somewhere in one of the rooms, but he did not have the axe. So we're going to cross Sir Rulin out of the weapons section because he doesn't have the axe. An antique clock was certainly not on the grounds, which is obvious because I think it has to be an indoors environment. It could be the attic where it's probably been hidden, or it could be in the master bedroom. Lastly, Miss Saffron was seen using a weapon to read the fine print in the ads of a gossip magazine. So that only means that she uses the magnifying glass. So I'm going to use this multicolored pen and check mark the magnifying glass because she has it as a weapon, but she used it for reading a magazine. And I'm going to cross out the people that don't have the magnifying glass in red ink, of course. And I'm going to cross out the weapons that she didn't have. This also means one thing. Miss Saffron has the axe. She has the axe. She has the axe as the weapon, which means that the axe was not in the master bedroom. So we're going to cross that out, but I'm using pencil just in case if I messed up or if I got it wrong. That means only one thing. Sir Rulin has the antique clock, without a shadow of a doubt. And I believe that because of this, Miss Saffron wasn't in the master bedroom. She wasn't in the master bedroom. That's one thing we need to get things clear. And Sir Rulin has the antique clock, but he did not Because remember, he was hiding from Miss Saffron, who brought an axe. So I'm going to cross out that Suru Ling wasn't in the grounds with the antique clock. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. It says blood was splattered on a family heirloom. I'm trying to figure out if it was an antique clock or some sort of room. If blood was splattered on a family heirloom, that can only mean that it's some sort of thing. But I cannot confirm nor deny of what it is. So, let's see. Okay, so let me get this straight. This is going to be the trickiest. This is definitely, without a shadow of doubt, the trickiest. What's it called? This has got to be the trickiest case, because it didn't give us anything that involves a room. And I'm trying to figure out which room does these three suspects were in. Because remember, Miss Saffron brought the axe, meaning that Suru Ling was hiding from Miss Saffron right here because she has an axe. So that means that the axe was not in the master bedroom. That we know. Then the antique clock wasn't in the ground. It was somewhere indoors. Which is quite obvious because there's only two indoors locations that could be in. The master bedroom or the spooky attic. But I still have no clue as to what it is right now. So I do remember that when you play the online version, there's this thing where you put question marks in. So I am going to put a question mark on... I'm definitely going to put a question mark on this. If Miss Saffron was using a magnifying glass to read a newspaper, that can only mean she's probably indoors right now. And not outdoors. She wasn't on the ground. So I'm definitely using the pencil for this because I may be wrong, just like the third case. So this means that Miss Saffron... No, I got this wrong. Because this is Dane Obsidian. I'm supposed to cross out where Miss Saffron is at. Sometimes you gotta be very careful of what you put. So Dane Obsidian was on the ground. Oh no. Oh no. I just realized something. I messed it up. And I cannot erase this because it's in permanent ink. Garbage. I just realized... See, this is why I should have used the pencil instead. This is the first time I made a critical mistake. Now I gotta use a pencil for this. Miss Saffron was was the one who's using the magnifying glass. Miss Saffron was the one who's using the magnifying glass. And not Dane Obsidian. I wasn't paying attention. I got distracted. So the magnifying glass. Okay, so Dame Obsidian wasn't. Okay, so. So what I can gather that Miss Saffron has the magnifying glass and Dane Obsidian has the axe, while Sir Rowleen has the antique clock. The antique clock wasn't outdoors, obviously because it's indoors, and the axe itself was actually in the master bedroom, which means we can cross these out. That means that the magnifying glass wasn't outdoors, after all. The magnifying glass wasn't outdoors. So we cross this out. That only means that the room that has the antique clock is actually in the attic. So on the ground, Dane Obsidian was, Miss Saffron was in the spooky attic for some reason. The problem is she wasn't. Oh, wait a minute. She probably was. Right now I'm totally confused about this puzzle. Because the magnifying glass... Let's just say that Miss Saffron was outdoors with the magnifying glass. She was outdoors in the magnifying glass. And I gotta remember that the antique clock wasn't... And it wasn't outdoors. The axe was in the master bedroom. So that means that she was there. And then we cross out the spooky attic. Then in the master bedroom, if I could try to... Oh, wait a minute. This only means that in the attic, it was Sir Rowleen. Now the question is, what is a family heirloom? The family heirloom, let's see. I think... I'm just going to say that the heirloom has to be the clock. Because if the antique clock is a family heirloom, that could only mean that Sir Rowleen was the one who did it. I'm very disappointed in myself because I should not have used the pen if I didn't read this properly. Or if I didn't pay attention to the character bio of what they supposed to, where the suspect's supposed to have or wear or something. I'm really upset about this. I really am. You have no idea how much I'm upset of messing up, because I thought I knew who Miss Saffron was, but I didn't realize that I was supposed to pay attention to what the symbols of it. Even though I was paying attention before, but I got distracted thinking that I got this in the bag. I'm so upset about this. Let's move on to case number 9 before I get real mad. This is the hedge your bets. The constable cried. While Logical was wondering if it were possible Dana Obsidian was actually innocent, he heard a scream from her hedge maze, which is not one of the locations in this case, unfortunately. He ran into it. It got lost. Figured it out, and then found Dana Obsidian, who he was now certain was innocent on account of she was dead. What? What? And guess what? Miss Saffron is a suspect again. But this time we have a new we have other 2 new suspects. We have Constable Copper, the identical twin of Officer Copper, which is, when their parents divorced, she, which is a female, moved across the ocean, but they have so much in common. Same height, same job, same prospecties to violets. I don't know how to pronounce this word. But what I know is Constable Copper was 5'5", right-handed, blue eyes, and blonde hair. Then we got Lord Lavender, a political conservative MP in the House of Lords, as well as the musical theater composer behind such hits as Dog and Mr. Most Megastar. Let's see. So, he must be a he. This man is 5'9", right-handed, green eyes, and gray hair. The locations are the fountain, the lookout tower, and the ancient ruins again. And now we move on to the weapons. If I could see clearly. We have the poison tea, the flower pot, and we also have the pair of gardening shears again. So let's see what we know for sure. Dame Obsidian's body was found behind a blood splatter map. So we need to figure out. The location, I believe. I can either it has to be the ancient ruins or the tower. I really don't know. This is supposed to be elementary. It's already hard as it is. So let's move on to the clues. The poison tea was certainly not in the ancient ruins, nor what's in the fountain. So that means that the poison tea was in the tower. The poison tea was in the tower. That we know for sure. But who has the tea? Let's see. The tallest suspect and the person who brought the gardening shears had a history together. The tallest suspect and the person. So let's see. The tallest suspect is Lord Lavender. But we don't know if it's just one person, because the clue says the tallest suspect, which is Lord Lavender, and the person who brought the gardening shears have a history together. We don't know what it is, unfortunately. So the flower pot was not in the ancient ruins, which only means that the gardening shears is at the ancient ruins. Miss Saffron was addicted to a product made by a friend of hers, Earl Grey, and she added just a little poison. Uh-oh. It appears that Miss Saffron has the poison tea, while the other two doesn't. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we don't know exactly what location that has a blood spatter map. This is one of these scenarios where I cannot figure things out. I'm trying to figure out if the person... I think I might have gotten this wrong. I think I might have gotten this wrong. See, this is why I need to use a pencil in case I messed up, but I always use a pen in case these clues are like accurate. The flower pot wasn't in ancient ruins. That I know. Because we don't know what location has the poison tea. According to the... Oh, wait a minute. I think I got this right. But that's simply because I wasn't thinking straight. So, this means that Miss Saffron was at the tower with the poison tea. If blood was splattered on the map, it can go either way. I can assume it could be the gardening shear. But it didn't state whether they've been stabbed, cut, or whatever. So we know that Miss Saffron has the poison tea, while she does not have the other weapons. And because the gardening shear... or... Hold on, let's see, the flower pot... I may have gotten this wrong. Again. Because I wasn't paying attention to the flower pot. The flower pot was not in the ancient ruins. That's one thing we know for sure. And what we do know is that the tower does not have the flower pot, and it does not have the gardening shears. This means that the gardening shears, which I was correct about, was in the ancient ruins, while the flower pot was at the fountain. Alright, so we now know all the locations that has the weapons. The gardening shears in the ancient ruins. The flower pot is in the fountain because it has water. And lastly, in the tower was a poison coffee cup. Not a coffee cup. It's tea, not coffee. I keep thinking about coffee because I've been drinking it today just to wake myself up. Because my dog, which I will say her name, Marshmallow, keeps getting up, and I cannot read her mind. She needs to sit down because she cannot go outside due to this cold weather because it's snowing out. Alright, so we do know for sure the locations of each weapons, but we don't know and what we do know is that the poison tea was held by Miss Saffron, and she was at the tower with the poison tea, and she was addicted to a product that was made by a friend of hers, which is Earl Grey, and not one of the two suspects. So now, we gotta figure out which two has one of the other two weapons. The tallest suspect and the person who has the gardening shears had a history. So I can assume that Lord Lavender does not have the gardening shears, which means that it could have been Constable Copper, which only means that it was Lord Lavender who has the flower pot. So not only that, but the flower pot was at the fountain, and the gardening shears was at the ancient ruins. So we solved this puzzle, but we still gotta figure out who done it, because the evidence states that Dame Obsidian's body was found beside a blood-spattered map. And because I don't know exactly where they get the map from, nor exactly as to whether or not if it's outdoors, I'm going to have to move on to the next case, which is really a bummer, but that's only because I have no clue. This is supposed to be elementary, and now it's getting a little bit harder. The 10th case is Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, for a jerk just died. Because of a mistake he made with time zones, the hardest problem in all of deductive analysis, logical, missed his flight home. So he went to the village pub where everyone was celebrating the death of a loudmouth jerk. They all wanted to know who done it, so they could bury him drinks. And Logical was happy to oblige. Which only means one thing. We got a mystery to solve. So let's see what we have here. We have Brother Brownstone, a monk who has dedicated his life to the church, specifically to make money for it. He is 5'4", left-handed, dark brown eyes, and dark brown hair. Then we got Commander Champagne, a communist and a rich one. Commander Champagne likes nothing more than to travel the world, sharing the message of communists with his fellow vacationers. Excuse me. Lastly, we have Grandmaster Rose, a chess grandmaster who is always plotting his next move, like how to bump off his next opponents. So I forgot that Commander Champagne was 5'11", left-handed, hazel eyes, and blonde hair, while Grandmaster Rose was 5'7", left-handed, dark brown eyes, and dark brown hair. So both of them has the same color eyes and the same color hair, except this one. Alright, let's move on to the locations. We got the center bar, the corner booth, and of course, the cramped bathroom. Lastly, we have the weapons, which is a bottle of wine, a crystal ball, and a corkscrew. Alright, let's see what we can do with it. So what we know for sure is that they were giving out free drinks right over the jerk's still warm body, which only means one thing: it's at the bar. So, this is something that gives you a hint, but you're uncertain of what it is. So, I'm going to say it's at the bar because that's the place where they give you drinks. And now let's pay attention to the clues. A red stain was found in a teeny tiny space. So it's definitely the bottle of wine because it's the only weapon that is red. But we need to find out what is tiny. I think the only thing that is tiny is the bathroom because it says cramped. Like it's that small. So we're going to say that the bottle of wine was at the bathroom. Then we cross these out. Okay, the next clue. The chess player was suspicious of the person who brought the bottle of wine. So it's definitely not Grandmaster Rose because he doesn't have the bottle of wine. He probably doesn't have time for it because he's thinking about chess. A corkscrew, I can't even talk. A corkscrew was certainly not in the center bar. So, we're going to cross out the corkscrew, which means that that at the bar, it's not at the center bar, but it's at the booth. That only means one thing. At the bar, there was a crystal ball. So, I don't know how to write crystal ball fully in this. So, I'm just going to write like this. Then put a period on it and then write the letter B. There we go. So now we know that the crystal ball was in the bar. So now all that's left is to figure out who done it. The last clue is the suspect with the corkscrew had blonde hair. Oh. The person who has blonde hair is Commander Champagne. He's the only one that has it. So, cross these out, which only means that Grandmaster Rose, which I'm going to write the name Rose. Because I can't write too small, as much as I wanted to. So Grandmaster Rose was the one who had the crystal ball. And the poison wine, well, it's not poison, but the bottled wine is from this guy. Okay, so I have to pay attention to location. So the corkscrew was at the booth. So he was at the booth. Then for Commander Champagne, no, he has the bottle of wine. I'm starting to get things mixed up here. See, this is why you have to pay very close attention. Otherwise, you're screwed if you lose a pin. So Brother Brownstone has the wine, but it is at the bathroom, not the other room. Then Commander Champagne has the corkscrew on the booth and not in the other room. That only means that at the bar there was a crystal ball and Grandmaster Rose did it. See, now these puzzles are getting trickier and trickier. So we finished that one. The other one, I just can't figure it out. Okay, wait a minute. Before I do this, gotta read what it says here. According to this is the case of the coffee shop killer. One deductive logical was back home. He went to his favorite coffee shop in order to ponder what had happened to Dane Obsidian. While he was lost in thought, a barista lost her life. He couldn't save her, but he could solve her murder. This is where we clip this. And where did I leave that pencil sharpener? I'll worry about it once I end the stream. So, we have Coach Raspberry, General Coffee, and Bookie Winner Grainsboro. So we all know about General Coffee. But Coach Raspberry, however, one of the best coaches this side of the Mississippi, regardless of which side you happen to be on. Some people say he has a gambling problem, but he just says he loves danger. He is 6'0", left-handed, blue eyes and blonde hair. Now for Bookie Winner Boro, excuse me. He won a Bookington Award for his novel, which he will tell you within 2 minutes of meeting you. The book is 6,000 pages long, and it's about dirt. He's also 6'0". He's also left-handed, but he has hazel eyes and light brown hair. So the locations are the courtyard, beam room, and counter. Lastly, we have the weapons, which is, of course, is a metal straw, poison cup of coffee, and ordinary brick again. All right, let's figure out what we know. The metal straw was used to commit murder. So without any doubt, let me see if I could try to fit this in a sentence. I think I could. There we go. So the metal straw is the murder weapon. That's the evidence. So now let's look at the clues. Bookie Winner Grainsboro had never been in the courtyard, and he never wanted to go if you asked him. So he never went to the courtyard. Okay. Coach Raspberry used to run plays with the person who bought the poison coffee. So that means Coach Raspberry does not have the coffee. Logical found a regular brick chip buried beneath a bag of beans. So this only means that an ordinary brick was probably at the bean room. So we're definitely crossing this out and crossing this out too. And last but certainly not least, the person who was I can't even talk. The person who was at the counter was a former owner of Deductive Logical's coffee shop. Exhibit A. Who is the owner of the coffee shop? I would say it could be General Coffee since he was the one who owns it. So I'm going to say that General Coffee was at the counter. General Coffee was at the counter. This only means that book winner Gaines Borough was at the beam room with the ordinary brick. And Coach Raspberry was at the courtyard doing some practice. This also means that the person who has the poison coffee is General Coffee. And the person who has the metal straw is none other than Coach Raspberry. So this only means that Coach Raspberry is the one who ended the barista's life. Okay, so I finally figure out. So metal and okay, time to write courtyard. And then I'm going to write Coach. Put a period on and then write the letter R as a way of saying this is Coach Raspberry. Okay. Oops. The next mystery that we're about to solve is going to be the Mysterious Mystery Bookshop Mystery. That's a strange title of a case. But anyways, the Dr. Logical decided to investigate the mystery of Dane Obsidian by investigating the mysteries of Dane Obsidian. So he went to a local mystery bookshop. But the first mystery he found was the death of the bookshop proprietor. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But he's the person who owns the property, is what I'm thinking. So, hold on. There we go. So, Commander Champagne and Captain Slate are now suspects again for this case. However, we also have a new suspect, which is Director Dusty. A true filmmaker, the only thing he cares about is getting his movie made, no matter what. He's 5'10", left-handed, hazel eyes, and he has no hair. So the front counter, the discount rack, and the rare books room is the locations for this mystery. But what about the weapons? So the weapons are, I don't know if you can see it. We have a bone folder, a totem bag, and a paper bag. So what do we know? Well, the evidence state that a chip of animal bone, which I'm assuming it is a bone folder, was found inside the body of the proprietor or the owner of the bookshop. So the weapon is definitely... So what we know is that the weapon itself is actually a bone folder. I don't know if I can write this in whole, but maybe I will try. Okay, it's a little tough, but at least I got it. So we know what weapon did the killer use. Now we gotta follow the clues. So let's say a totem bag was not found in the discount rack. So let me go ahead and use this pen because I rarely did it in this stream because I was hesitating. So let's see, a totem bag, right over here was not found in the discount rack. There we go. A smudge of toxic ink was found by the counter. Let's see. According to this, the paperback, too light to hit someone over the head, but the ink is so cheap it's toxic. So I can only assume, which I'm going to use a pencil on this because I don't know for sure. But I do believe that what they're referring to, the toxic paperback was found in the counter. Let me see. That means that the bone folder was at the discount rack. That we know because the total bag wasn't there. So we're going to cross this out, which only means that the totem bag was actually in the books room. Okay, so now we know where the weapon is at. I don't know if I can write let me see. Let me rather write this. Discount R. That's why I'm going to put it down. But it stands for discount rack. So now we know all where all the weapons is at. Now we just gotta figure out who has the weapon and where did the suspect went. We just gotta figure out who. Okay, so an antique shoplifting mirror caught the reflection of the eyes of the person in the rear books room. They were dark brown. So if we pay attention to the bios, it appears that the suspect has dark brown eyes. So it's obviously Captain Slate, which is I believe it is a female. Yeah, a female. I always think Captain Slate is a male, but it turns out it's a female. Okay, so Captain Slate was at the book room. Which we're going to, I'm going to definitely use a pencil just to take precautionary measures. She was at the book room. And she has the totem bag. She has the totem bag. She doesn't have any of these weapons. So now we know that Captain Slate has the totem bag and was in the book room, because in the book room, the totem bag was not in the discount thing and all that kind of stuff. And she's the only person that has dark brown eyes. Okay, the last clue was there weren't any film books in the discount rack. So Director Dusty wasn't there. So he wasn't in the discount rack, which means no. See? I keep messing up again. Basically, this means that he was in the front counter. That means that the only person that was in the discount rack was Commander Champagne. So, to carefully read this, the bone folder was held by Commander Champagne, while the paperback was in the front counter. So this means that it was Commander Champagne all along. Let me see if I could spell the word champagne. If there's one thing that I realize about Murdle is that their names are like based on color, I believe. Sometimes not much about color. This is probably too long to write champagne in this book, but you know. Okay, we're going to do one more case, and then I'm going to have to wrap this up. The last case for today is the killing of a cowboy. Dame Assyrian had written mysteries in many different places and periods, and Logical was determined to read them all. The first was a western filled with red herrings, black hats, and a twist worthy of a lasso. A rancher had been killed, and it looked like the suspects were based on real people. What? That's interesting. Hold on. There. Do it like this. There we go. Okay, so the new suspects are Cowboy Raspberry, which I'm assuming this person is related to Coach Raspberry. One of the best cowboys this side of Mississippi, regardless of which side you happen to be on. People say he has a rustling problem, but he just says he loves danger. He's 6'0", left-handed, blue eyes, and blonde hair. Obviously, may be related or connected to Coach Raspberry. He may probably be the ancestor of Coach Raspberry. I do not know. But we got Justice Pine, which, if I remember correctly, if I play the online version, she's probably the ancestor of Judge Pine. Master of the ruler courthouse and possessed of a firm belief in her own form of frontier justice. She's 5'6", right-handed, dark brown eyes, and black hair. Lastly, we have Corporal Coffee, maybe related or the ancestor of General Coffee. Back in those days, if you liked coffee, which I do, but I can't drink it too much, but that's besides the point. You like it black? No. And the corporal liked coffee. He is 6'0", right-handed, brown eyes, and has no hair. So the locations are saloon, the watering hole, and the hotel. And then we move on to the weapons. If you're still watching, this is going to be the last case for today, or the last mystery for today. The weapons are a stabbing knife, a cactus, and a tainted moonshine. So what do we know? We know that the tainted moonshine was used to murder the rancher. Okay, so it looks like the moonshine is one of the weapons. But I'm just going to call it moonshine for a reason. All right, that we do know for sure what weapon. So now let's get to the clues. Some needles were found soaking in a dark brown water. So the needles that we're referring to are technically the cactus. And the watering hole is definitely where the weapon is at. Okay, next up, we got Justice Pine was suspicious of the person who brought the stabbing knife. Reasonable, which means that she doesn't have it. She does not have the knife. Then we have Corporal Coffee had never been in the hotel. So we're going to cross that out too. Whoever had the cactus had blue eyes, which only means it's going to be Cowboy Raspberry. Cowboy Raspberry had the cactus because he's the only one that has blue eyes, while the others had different color eyes. So I'm going to use this pen, which I can't trust myself when it comes to making mistakes and errors. So Cowboy Raspberry has the cactus. He doesn't have these weapons right here. And neither does Judge Pine or Justice Pine and the coffee guy do not have the cactus, which only means that the only weapon that Justice Pine has was the moonshine. Oh my goodness. And the Corporal Coffee has the knife. So I'm going to put on J. Pine as a way of saying this is almost like Judge Pine, but it's Justice Pine in this one. So we do know that Justice Pine was the one who has the moonshine. And we also know that in the watering hole, Cowboy Raspberry was there, while the others wasn't there. This means only one thing. Corporal Coffee was at the saloon because he wasn't in the hotel. He never stepped foot on it. But the person who was at the hotel was actually Justice Pine. Thank you so much for the likes. It's really appreciated. So in the saloon, there was a knife and Corporal Coffee was there. But in the hotel, it was Justice Pine all along. So I'm definitely going to write down hotel. There we go. And let's see. Which case I have not solved yet? I have not solved this one because I haven't figured out exactly about a map thing. And I tried to look to see. Oh, wait a minute. There was a map at the tower. All right, we're getting there. So in the tower. Okay, so we got this. So the tower. Hold on. Sorry about that. Let me clip this. So we know that the tower is where it's all took place. And the weapon is going to be... I'm going to write down... You know what? I'm going to put the letter P. I'm going to put the letter P, put a dot on it, and then write the word T, as it to saying that the tea was poison. There we go. And let's see, who would have done this? It was Miss Saffron. So I'm going to put the name Saffron. If I would have paid attention to the bios of the location, then I would have known for sure. But my mind is thought like, I cannot solve this. But now I understand that the tower has the map. Okay, Saffron. And there you go. And I think that's it for today's live stream. Even though I would do more, but I don't want to drain my battery on my new phone. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe when it comes to snow. Also stay healthy, be kind to others, and have a wonderful day.